जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय यशोधन जय दर्शन रंजन चारी जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदनंदन जय दर्शन रंजन जय यमुनतिरब्रह्मचारी जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा जय कुंज बिहारी Hare Krishna Prabhu. So should we start?
I think, Prabhu, let's start. Sorry,
Okay.
attendance is a bit too low. Sorry for that.
No, that's fine. That's okay. No, not an issue. So we'll start the Bhagavatam class. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam. Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Nashtaprayeshu Madreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttam Shloke. Bhakti Nishtaki. So thank you all for joining. We would continue our Srimad Bhagavatam class. So we are on chapter Canto 2, chapter 4. Today we would be covering shloka number 11 to shloka number 17. I'll share my screen and we can continue from there. So let me just share. Let me know if you see my screen now.
We
Yeah.
can see, Prabhu.
We can see.
Okay, so I'm going to read the first shloka, which is 11. I will read the translation and purport, and then, people can pick up from shloka number 12 if they want to read the translation and purport. So I'm going to read 11 full, okay? So 11 shloka, Suta Uvacha, iti upamantrito ragya gunanukathane hare ऋषिकेशम अनुस्मृत्य प्रविवक्तुम प्रचक्रमे. Translation. Suta Goswami said, when Sukdev Goswami thus requested the king to describe the creative energy of the personality of Godhead, then he systematically remembered the master of senses, Sri Krishna, and to reply properly, he spoke thus. Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Upam Sadhacharya. Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Gopesh Gopi Katanta So, purport. The devotees of the Lord, while delivering speeches and describing the transcendental attributes of the Lord, do not think that they can do anything independently. They think that they can speak only what they are induced to speak by the Supreme Lord, the master of the senses. The senses of the individual being are not his own. The devotee knows that such senses belong to the Supreme and that they can be properly used when they are employed for the service of the Lord. The senses are instruments and elements are ingredients, all endowed by the Lord. Therefore, whatever individual can do, speak, see, etc., is under the direction of the Lord. Bhagavad Gita 15.15 confirms this. Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishto maktah smritir jnanam apohanam cha. No one is free to act freely and independently, and as such, one should always seek the permission of the Lord to act or eat or speak, and by the blessings of the Lord, everything done by a devotee is beyond the principles of the four defects typical of the conditioned souls. So we'll start with the presentation. That's the chapter we will be covering 2, 4, 11 to 17. And the title is Cosmic Manifestation. A quick summary on what is happening here, and we will cover those in a minute. So, Sukhdev Goswami is answering the questions. This is the 11th shloka. And the summary is that Parikshit Maharaj remembers the Lord. Few key points that we would be looking also is without the Lord's mercy, nothing is possible. Remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness comes from the Lord. And this is just the summary that I'm presenting. And then finally, the Lord, the Vedas are perfect and are above all the four defects. I'll quickly summarize this on all the other shlokas also, and then we will go into the actual shlokas. So 12 onwards, this 12 shloka onwards for next 13 shlokas is actually a Sukha Stuti. So Sukhdev Goswami is actually doing a Mangala Charan starting from shloka number 12 till the next 13 shlokas. So this is all about the Mangala Charan. We'll see what are various things within the Mangala Charan, but yes, these are 13 shlokas that Sukhdev Goswami is glorifying the Lord. A couple of principles. Now, from 12 onwards till the 17th, of course, we will see all the principles that are part of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. 12 typically talks about certain principles, and I'll just read them and we'll go into the shloka to go more into the details. Lord is complete and no one is equal and above him. Second principle, he creates, maintains, and destroys the universes. He does this with the three modes of material nature via the guna avatars that the Lord has. We will see those. He's omnipresent. That means he's present everywhere. And since he's omnipresent, he also creates universes and enters those universes. So these are some of the principles that we will see in the shloka number 12. And lastly, we will see that what is the importance of chanting and offering obeisances. So Mangala Charan starts with offering obeisances, doing namaskar, and we will see what are the glories of offering obeisances or doing namaskar. Okay. Chapter 3 has some more key principles. The principles that we would be covering is Paritranaya Sadhunam, Vinashaya Chadushkritam. That's the second principle. The third principle is the Lord provides Bhakti Yoga to the Paramhamsas. That's the third principle. And then the final one is Yetathaman Prapadyante. So that's the four principles that we will see in shloka number 13. 14 also talks about certain principles. Some of them are the Lord provides association to his devotees. We will also see the impersonal and the personal transcendental manifestation of the Lord, that, how when the Lord is impersonal and personal, what happens. So that's another principle. The other principle that we would cover is Maktha Paratanam Anyat. Okay, no one is above him. And then the Lord is the supreme enjoyer of both material and spiritual world. So 14, when Sukdev Goswami is glorifying the Lord using the stuti, these are the principles that are covered. 15 talks about the process of performing devotional service and what results do I get when I perform the devotional service is covered in shloka number 15. 16 talks about the only object of meditation is the lotus feet of the Lord, and then the effect and the award of surrendering to the lotus feet of the Lord. What happens when you surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord? And then finally, the Lord also gives the most confidential knowledge on what should be done. 17 also has certain principles. It is samsiddhir haritoshanam. That means everything that we do should be done and should be offered to the Lord. And the satisfaction of the Lord is the most important than the self. So these are key principles that are beautiful 13 shlokas that we would see. All that I have prepared today is actually from a lecture of His Grace Sarvabhauma Prabhu that I have referred to. I have made notes from his lecture. So all glories to His Grace Sarvabhauma Prabhu. We'll start with shloka number 11 that we spoke on. So shloka number 11, we start with a basic qualification that we require. Now here is Sukdev Goswami giving answers to Parikshit Maharaj. Now there is a certain qualification that is required if you have to sit and understand the knowledge. So what is the first thing that is required is a qualification. So we'll start with this first shloka, which is in Bhagavad Gita 4:34. It says tat vidhi paripatena pariprashnena sevaya upadakshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. So there are three steps, the vidhi that is mentioned. You need to approach a spiritual master, you need to inquire, and you need to render the service onto his lotus feet. Now, first, how to approach is also important. So the way that Acharya says that if you have to approach a spiritual master, then you need to do it in a mood that is more submissive and in a humble way. So we are approaching a spiritual master. So that's the qualification that is required for anyone who wants to approach a spiritual master. He should do it in a mood which is humble and submissive. What should we inquire? We should inquire about the absolute truth. We should inquire about the supreme personality of the Godhead. It's not any material topic that we need to inquire, but we need to inquire about the absolute truth. And the third one is, what should we do? We should render devotional service, right? And we should render the devotional service in that same humble mood that we have. So that's a qualification that is required, that if I have to understand a certain topic, I need first to approach a spiritual master, inquire about the absolute truth, and then render service onto him. Now, why this is done? This is done only because all these self-realized souls, right? Upadekshanti te jnanam, they have all the required knowledge, right? And they are the one, jnaninas tattva darshinaha, and they have seen the truth. So only a self-realized soul has the required knowledge and they have seen the truth. So only then you can actually receive the knowledge. Okay, so here it is both self-realized souls and how to approach and what is the qualification required. So very important point to understand is that only after both are qualified, you can understand the topic. So you have three things happening here. You have a Shrota, who is Parikshit Maharaj, who is a student, pure devotee of the Lord. There is a Vakta, who is Sukdev Goswami, who is a Guru and an Acharya. And in this shloka, it says what they are doing Gunanu Kathane Harer. That means they are talking about the transcendental attributes of the Lord. So if you have the right Shrota, the right Vakta, and you are discussing the right topic, which is Gunanu Kathane Harer in the shloka, then what happens? There is a transformation that takes place. And that transformation is then helping us to achieve the Supreme Lord. And it is quite astonishing that only because of this, that means you had the Acharya, you had a student like Parikshit Maharaj, and the correct topic was spoken. Maharaj Parikshit was able to achieve the Supreme Lord only in 7 days. We all know how tedious bhakti is and how the process can be longer. But in terms of Parikshit Maharaj, because these three things were correct, Parikshit Maharaj was able to achieve the Supreme Lord only in 7 days, right? Quite interesting. So, when we talk about the qualification, one more shloka which is in Chaitanya Charitamrita 17:161, it says, Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhyam mahajano yena gatha sapantha. So, Dharmasya tattvam, that means all the truth about the Dharma, nihitam guhyatam, is hidden, okay, in the heart of the self-realized soul. And what we should be doing is, then one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajan advocates. Mahajano yena gatha sapantha. So, a pure devotee is just following the ways the previous acharyas or authorities. So, pure devotee just follows them, right? And then only you can see the Lord. So, seeing the Lord can only happen through a transparent medium of a spiritual master. So when it comes to the qualification, we saw the previous qualification of how to approach. And then also people who follow the previous acharyas, we just need to follow that same progressive path, right? And once you have the correct acharya, then we will be able to get the required knowledge or achieve the supreme, right? And the most important part that Prabhupada says is the pure devotee never tries to see the Lord with a mental speculation, but follows these footsteps of the acharyas. So whatever he speaks, whatever senses he has, everything is sort of involved for the satisfaction of the Lord. And the devotee knows that all these senses, whatever I'm speaking, is not because of me, but because it is the mercy of the Lord. So Prabhupada clearly says, whatever you speak, the senses, they are all because of the Lord. Okay. So the next is important. So this slide then says there is nothing that is possible without the mercy of the Lord. Right. So the Lord's mercy, when the Lord's mercy is there, then only we are able to speak about the glories of the Lord. Right. So here it is says, Bhagavatam says also that Ananta Shesha, Balram, and all the gurus are acharyas for glorifying the Lord, right? A beautiful example that comes in Srimad Bhagavatam is Dhruva Maharaj, right? When Dhruva Maharaj saw the Lord in front of him, he could not speak anything, right? But then what the Lord did, the Lord took the conch shell and touched the head of Dhruva Maharaj. And then Dhruva Maharaj started singing the stutis of the Lord. So that's the mercy of the Lord, right? And it is very clear that nothing is possible and everything comes from him. Two beautiful shlokas. Again, when in this shloka 11, when it is said that you are trying to speak, you are trying to involve your senses, it is only because of the Lord's mercy. So two shlokas, very nice. One is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayati girim yat kripatam ham vande Paramananda Madhavam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has the form Satchitananda Vigraha, transcendental bliss, knowledge, and eternity. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him who turns the dumb into an eloquent speaker and enables the lame to cross the mountains. Such is the mercy of the Lord. So everything is possible if you have the mercy of the Lord coming in. And then the next one says, in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya chaham hridisimne vishto mattah smritir jnanam apohanam cha Vedaishcha sarver aham eva vedyo vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes mattah, smritir, jnanam, knowledge, apohanam, that means forgetfulness. All the Vedas, by all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta and I am the knower of the Veda. So, yes, all the power that you have for your speaking, your glorification that you do for the Lord, it is only possible when the Lord has mercy onto you. and everything and anything is possible if Lord showers his mercy on it. Okay. Now, the last statement, Prabhupada also says that we just saw the Lord is the compiler of the Veda, right? In the previous shloka, which is 15.15. Now, here it says the Lord is the compiler, okay? And the Shastras has come directly from the Lord. And since the Lord is perfect, therefore, all the rules and regulations that are described in the Shastra, okay, being above these defects are accepted without the alteration by all saints, acharyas, and great souls. So Prabhupada is talking about that the Lord and the Shastras are perfect, and they are above the four defects. So four defects, we all know what these are. We commit mistakes, we are illusioned, we have imperfect senses, and we have tendency to cheat others. But since the Lord is perfect and the Shastras are spoken by him, all the rules and regulations as per the Shastra are accepted by all the saints, acharyas, and great souls, and they are above these four defects. So this is what Prabhupada was mentioning in the shloka number 11. Okay. Now, we'll move to the shloka 12, but just to give you a brief again, so shloka 12 to 24, as I said, is all about Shuka Stuti. So this is all Sukdev Goswami reciting the Mangalacharan. And Sukdev Goswami, however, did not do the Mangalacharan in the first canto because he was so excited about the questions that Parikshit Maharaj asked. He started answering them. But then when when Parikshit Maharaj started asking about the creation of the universe, this is where Sukdev Goswami first started doing the Mangalacharan. Okay, and these are all the principles as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. So Mangalacharan has three parts. One is when you do a Mangalacharan, you offer obeisances. That means you do namaskar. The second is Shravanam, where you actually glorify the Lord and ask for the ask for the Lord to give so that it is beneficial to all. So Mangalacharan actually should be beneficial to all. And third is we always ask for the Lord's pleasure. So these are the three sections of Mangalacharan. Namaskar, may the glorifying Lord be beneficial to all, and so that it gets benefit to all. And the third one is may the Lord be pleased upon all of us. So these are three sections of Mangalacharan. So we'll start with shloka number 12, which is here. I'll read the shloka. Anyone can participate in reading the translation and the purport. So this is where it starts. It says, Sri Shuka Uvacha, Namha Parasme Purushaya Bhuyase, Sad Udbhava Sthana Nirodha Leelaya, Grahita Shakti Tritayaya Dehinam, Antar Bhavanu Plakshya Vartmane. Translation. Can anyone read the translation?
Sukdev Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, who for the creation of the material world accepts the three modes of nature. He is the complete whole, residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable. The material world is a manifestation of the three modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, and the Supreme Lord for the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world accepts three predominating forms as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankar, Shiva. As Vishnu, he enters into everybody materially created as Garbhodakshay Vishnu. He enters into every universe and as Shirodakshay Vishnu. He enters the body of every living being. Lord Shri Krishna, being the origin of all Vishnu Tattvas, is addressed here as Param, Paraparam, as or Purushottama, as described in Bhagavad Gita 15.18. He is the complete whole. The Purushavatars are therefore his plenary expansions. Bhakti Yoga is the only process by which one can become competent to know him, because the empiric philosophers and mystic yogis cannot conceive the personality of the Godhead. He is called Anu Lakshya Vartaman, the Lord of the inconceivable way, or Bhakti Yoga.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, what was interesting was His Grace Sarvabhauma Prabhu was explaining this nicely. Stuti, when you have to read line by line these stutis so that you get the actual meaning of it. And it was very, very simple to understand. So I've done it in the same way. We'll just split it into multiple lines and we will see how. So first is Namha Parasmay Purushaya Bhuyase. The first thing is offer obeisances to whom? So Shukdev Goswami is offering obeisances to Namha Parasmay Purushaya. So the Purushottam, he is offering obeisances to the Lord, the Purushottam, the Supreme, who is a complete all, right? And so the meaning of this line is Purushottam, Supreme, who is a complete whole in itself, and no one is equal to him or no one is above him. So that's the line. So first thing that Sukadeva Goswami says, I'm offering obeisances to someone who is complete, who is supreme, and no one is equal to him and no one is above to him. So these are the principles of Bhagavatam that we are covering. You remember the summary slide that we had. Then the next line says, Sat Udbhava Sthana Nirodha Leelaya. What kind of Leela he does? He does three things. He does creation, maintenance, and destruction. So he offers obeisances, and what are his activities? He does Leelaya, right? He does three Leelas. He creates, maintains, and destroys the universe. That's the second part that he does. Third thing, how does the Lord achieve this? Is the answer in the third line, which says Grahita Shakti Tritayaya Dehinam. Tritayaya means three good. So how does he achieve this? Right? Creation, maintenance, and destruction. How does he achieve? He achieves this using three modes of material nature, right? What are described there. And then he accepts these three modes of material nature, and he does these three activities using his three gunavatars. That means Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva does this job, right? And then the last portion of this is, he also says in the last line that Lord Antarbhavaya Anuplaksha Vartamane. That means the Lord, you are present within. So Sukadeva Goswami also gives a principle that yes, you are present within. You create innumerable universes. You enter each universe. You enter heart of each living being. So this is where all the three Vishnus are described, right? Garbhodakshaya, Kshirodakshaya, and Karnodakshaya Vishnu. That means Sukadeva Goswami is presenting another principle which says you are present everywhere, and these are the places. He also mentions these three Vishnu names that are there. Prabhupada mentions in the purport, and then he says, when I look at all these ways, all the activities that you have done, you create, you maintain, you destroy universe, yeah, right? You do things using the three modes of material nature. You enter into every universe, into all the human hearts. It is very inconceivable for us to understand this. So this says that, this shloka says that I am offering obeisances to the Purushottam, to the complete whole, who creates, maintains, destroys. He does things, he does leelas, and he enters into all, he's present everywhere, but it is inconceivable, right? To know you and your activities. So that's the meaning of the first shloka here, right? And then it also says that only through bhakti yoga, okay, it is possible by which we can become competent to know him. So again, we saw in the 11th shloka that only because of the mercy of the Lord, it is possible. But here also, to know all these, what the Lord is doing, is only possible through the bhakti yoga. And the second important point, as we all covered, it is only when the Lord showers his mercy, right? So that's the meaning of the shloka number 12. So he's glorifying the Lord with certain themes, with certain principles. And this was shloka number 12, right? So sorry, I'll also put this as 12. So this was 2.4.12. Now, the first thing, if you remember in the Mangala Charan, was also about offering obeisances. The first thing is, in all the shlokas, it says, I offer my obeisances. And in the last shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, that's very important, is when we say namaskar or offering obeisances, the importance of offering obeisances is mentioned. This shloka is Namah Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukha Samanas Tam Namami Harim Param, right? Pranamo, Pranamo Dukha Samanas. That means the first two lines talk about chanting of the holy name destroys all the sinful reactions, right? So if you do sinful reactions, you get the suffering. So first is chanting the holy name will destroy your sinful reaction. And second is when you offer obeisances or do the namaskar, it relieves you from all the material suffering. So the sufferings that you're going to get from the material reactions, from the sinful reactions, are also destroyed. So this is where the importance of namaskar comes. So Mangalacharam, the first part is offering namaskar or offering obeisances. Okay. So this is what is mentioned in the shloka number 12, where he offers and he says what activities, and he says it is unconceivable and the only way to achieve is bhakti yoga. And the way to understand all of this that you're doing is through bhakti yoga. Let's go to the 13th one. 13th shloka says, Bhuyo namaha sat varjana chitte asatam asambhavaya akhila sattva murtaye pumsam punah paramhamsya ashrame avasthitam anumragya dashushe. Right? So translation. Can anyone read the translation?
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji. I again offer my respectful obeisances onto the form of complete existence and transcendence, who is the liberator of the pious devotees and from all distress and the destroyer of the further advances in atheistic temperament of the non-devotee demons. For the transcendentalists who are situated in the topmost spiritual perfection, he grants their specific destinations. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna is the complete form of all existence, both material and spiritual. Akhila means complete, or that which is not khila, inferior. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, there are two kinds of nature, prakriti, namely the material nature and the spiritual nature, or the external and internal potencies of the Lord. The material nature is called apara, or inferior, and the spiritual nature is called superior, or transcendental. Therefore, the form of the Lord is not of the inferior material nature. He is complete transcendence and is murti, or having transcendental form. The less intelligent man who are unaware of his transcendental form describe him as impersonal Brahman. But Brahman is simply the rays of his transcendental body, Yasya Prabha. The devotees who are aware of his transcendental form render him service. Therefore, the Lord also reciprocates by his causeless mercy and thus delivers his devotees from all distress. The pious men who follow the rulings of the Vedas are also dear to him, and therefore the pious men of this world are also protected by him. The impious and the non-devotees are against the principles of the Vedas, and so much persons are always hampered from making advances in their nefarious activities. Some of them who are specially favored by the Lord are killed by him personally, as in the case of Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, and Kamsa. And thus such demons get salvation and are thereby checked from further progress in their demoniac activities. Just like a kind father, either in his favor upon the devotees or his punishment of the demons, he is ever kind to everyone because he is the complete existence for all individual existence.
Thank you.
The Paramahamsa stage of existence is the highest perfectional stage of spiritual values. According to Srimati Kunti Devi, the Lord is factually understood by the Paramahamsas only, as there is gradual realization of the transcendence from impersonal Brahman to localized Paramatma to the personality of Godhead. Purushottama, Lord Krishna. Similarly, there is gradual promotion of one's situation in the spiritual life of sannyasa. Kutikaka, Bahudaka, Parivrajacharya, and Paramahamsa are gradual progressive stages in the renounced order of life. Sannyasa and Queen Kunti Devi, the mother of the Pandavas, has spoken about them in her prayers for Lord Krishna. Canto 1, Chapter 8. The Paramahamsas are generally found among both the impersonalists and the devotees, but according to Srimad Bhagavatam, as clearly stated by Kunti Devi, pure Bhakti Yoga is understood by the Paramahamsas, and Kunti Devi has especially mentioned that the Lord descends Paritranaya Sadhunam, especially to award Bhakti Yoga to the Paramahamsas. So ultimately, the Paramahamsas, in the true sense of the term, are unalloyed devotees of the Lord. Srila Jiva Goswami has directly accepted that the highest destination is Bhakti Yoga, by which one accepts the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Those who accept the path of Bhakti Yoga are the factual Paramahamsas. Since the Lord is very kind to everyone, the impersonalists who accept Bhakti as the means of merging in the existence of the Lord in his impersonal Brahma Jyoti are also awarded their desired destination. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.11, he has assured everyone, Ye yata mam prapadyante. According to Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti, there are two classes of Paramahamsas, namely the Brahmandis, Brahmandis, impersonalists. Brahmanandis, impersonalists, and the Premanandis, devotees. And both are awarded their desired destinations. Although the Premanandis are more fortunate than the Brahmanandis, but both the Brahmanandis and Premanandis are transcendentalists, and they have nothing to do with the inferior material nature, full of the existential miseries of life. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhu. So 13th shloka, again, we will go by line to understand the meaning. So let's look at the first one, right? It says, Bhuyo namaha sad varjina chidda asatam. So again, offer obeisances to whom, right? So there are two principles that have been spoken into this point, right? It says one who removes the distress of the devotees, right? So first line says, I offer obeisances onto the personality who removes distress of the devotees, which text talks about the first personality, Paritranaya Sadhuna. That means the Lord comes to remove all the distress for a devotee, right? And then one more important point is that he also showers mercy on to the person who is not a devotee, right? So here it is said that how does he help him? He helps him by stopping them from further advancing in their atheist nature. That means the Lord also stops the non-devotee from progressing or stopping them from further doing any offenses, right? And further than stopping his suffering. And Prabhupada also mentions that the third principle is that Lord even liberates people whom he kills. That means he kills Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, and Kamsa here, right? So the next principle is Vinashaya Duskritam. So in short, Sukdev Goswami is offering obeisances to both, to the Supreme, who does both. He is removing the distress. So first principle comes into the picture, and then he stops a non-devotee from further committing any offenses. And third, he even gives liberation to people whom he kills. So Sukdev Goswami is offering obeisances to the Lord who does these three. Next, what is the form of the Lord that does these activities, right? We saw he's doing all of this. He's removing a distress. He's stopping the non-devotees from doing further offenses. And then he's also giving the liberation. What form of the Lord does this activity? And this is where the name of the Lord that says, Asambhava Akhila Sattva Murtiye. So that's the name, Akhila Sattva Murtiye. So the form of the Lord that does this activity is the transcendental form of the Lord that is complete and full of goodness. That means the Akhil Sattva Murti means also that the form of the Lord that is in the form of a Vishuddha Sattva. See, you all know that the Lord is in the form of Vishuddha Sattva, and he has no contamination. He does not have a body like us. He does not have the chemicals and the material nature of our body that we have. So the form of the Lord that is doing these activities is actually the Lord who is complete, right? Akhil Sattva Murtaye. That's the form of the Lord that does this activity. The third line says, what are the other activities that the Lord do, right? So first two principles are covered, Paritranaya Sadhunam, and the next one is Vinayashaja Dushkrita. But here, Kunti Maharani brings another point. Kunti Maharani says, no, the first two are okay, but the main point where, you know, the Lord comes is, she says, the Lord descends specially to award the Bhakti Yoga to the Paramhamsa. So here, what Kunti Maharani has done is, Kunti Maharani is sort of unmanifested the secrets of Lord incarnation. Yes, these are some of the principles where the Lord comes, but then Kunti Maharani says, what is very important to know is that for the Paramhamsas to give Bhakti Yoga and to reciprocate with the Paramhamsas, you come. So this is another type of activity that the Lord does, apart from the ones that are mentioned as two principles, right? And then here he says, very important, he's still offering obeisances to the Lord. And he says, I'm offering obeisances to the Lord because you also grant specific destinations, all right? It says, Anubragya Doshase. So it says he grants specific destinations. So we saw in the description, Prabhupada mentions that there are two kind of people, right? One is called Brahmanandis and one is called the Paramanandis. So the Lord is so merciful that he gives even specific destinations as required by these two, right? Brahmanandis, what do they need? They need to merge into the existence of the Lord, right? And what does Paramanandis need? They need to serve the Lord in his abode, right? Ye tatha mam prapadyanti. Lord says in Bhagavad Gita that however and whatever reciprocation you do with me, I give you the results as per the reciprocation that you do, right? That's the shloka, ye tatha mam prapadyante. So the Lord awards the benediction to the Brahmanandis and the Premanandis accordingly. So Sukhdev Goswami is offering obeisances to the Lord who are performing these activities with two core principles as mentioned. He does this in his original form of Vishuddha Sattva. And then Kunti Maharani says the main reason for you coming here is reciprocation with the Paramahamsas. And then he's also offering to the obeisances to the people who require specific destinations, and the Lord grants them both of them, right? One of the definitions of Paramhamsa, I think, is Jiva Goswami in the purport that is mentioned, that Paramhamsa in true sense of the term are unallowed devotees of the Lord, right? That's the definition that he finally puts. And he says those who accept the path of Bhakti Yoga are the factual Paramhamsas. So the Paramhamsas and the reciprocation that the Lord wants to have with them, with Kunti Maharani has unmanifested the secret, is actually through the path of Bhakti Yoga, right? Prabhupada also talks about these Paramhamsas and various stages. So, right, 4 stages of Paramhamsa Prabhupada talks about. He talks about Koticha, Bahudak, Parivrajak, Acharya, and Paramhamsa. So, a small definition so that we understand when we say Paramhamsa, what these stages are. So, Kotichak is he stays outside his village in a cottage, and his necessities, especially his food, are supplied from home. That is Kotichak. Bahudak is when a sannyasi advances further, he no longer accepts anything from his home now. Instead, he collects necessities, especially his food, from many places, right? He goes Madhukari, he goes everywhere and asks for the necessities that he wants. Third is Parivrajak Acharya. He travels all over the world to preach the glories of Lord Vasudeva. He is Parivrajak Acharya. And then the Paramhamsa is the sannyasi reaches the Paramhamsa stage when he finishes his preaching and work and sit down at one place strictly for the sake of advancing in the spiritual life. So these are the 4 stages of Paramhamsas that were mentioned. So very important. Again, there is a glorification happening for the Lord with all the activities, with all the principles in shloka number 13. Now let's go to shloka number 14 and see what do we have for shloka number 14. 14 says, Namo namaste stava rashabhaya satvatam vidur vidurakashtaya muhuku yoginam nirasta samya samyatishena radhasa swadhamni brahmani ramsate namaha. Translation. Is there anyone, or I can read?
Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him who is the associate of the members of Yadu dynasty and who is always a problem for non-devotees. He is the supreme enjoyer of both the material and spiritual worlds, yet he enjoys his own abode in the spiritual sky. There is no one equal to him because his transcendental opulence is immeasurable. Immeasurable. There are two sides of transcendental manifestations of the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna. For the pure devotees, he is the constant companion, as in the case of his becoming one of the family members of the Yadu dynasty, or his becoming the friend of Arjun, or his becoming the associate neighbor of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, as the son of Nanda and Yashoda, the friend of Sudama, Sridhama, and Madhumangal, or the lover of the damsels of Vrijbhumi, etc. This is part of his personal features, and by his impersonal feature, he expands the rays of his Brahmajyoti, which is limitless and all-pervasive. Part of this all-pervasive Brahmajyoti, which is compared to the sun rays, is covered by the darkness of Mahatattva, and this insignificant part is known as the material world. In this material world, there are innumerable universes like the one we can experience, and in each of them there are hundreds of thousands of planets like the one we are inhabiting. The mundaners are more or less captivated by the unlimited expansion of the rays of the Lord, but the devotees are concerned more with his personal form, from which everything is emanating, Janmade Asya Yatha. As the sun rays are concentrated in the sun disk, the Brahma Jyoti is concentrated in the Golok Vrindavan, the topmost spiritual planet in the spiritual sky. The immeasurable spiritual sky is full of spiritual planets named Vaikunthas, for far beyond the material sky. The mundaners have insufficient information of even the mundane sky, so what can they think of the spiritual sky? Therefore, the mundaners are always far away from him. Even if in the future they are able to manufacture some machine whose speed may be accelerated to the velocity of the wind or mind, the mundaners will still be unable to imagine reaching the planets in the spiritual sky. So the Lord and his residential abode will always remain a myth or a mysterious problem, but the devotees of Lord will always be available as an associate. In the spiritual sky, his opulence is immeasurable. The Lord resides in all the spiritual planets, the innumerable Vaikuntha planets, by expanding his plenary portions along with these liberated devotee associates. But the impersonalists who want to merge in the existence of the Lord are allowed to merge as one of the spiritual sparks of the Brahma Jyoti. They have no qualifications for becoming associates of the Lord, either in the Vaikuntha planets or in the supreme planet, Golok Vrindavan, described in the Bhagavad Gita as Madham, and here in this verse as Savadham of the Lord. The Madham or Savadham of the Bhagavad Gita 15.6 is as follows. न तद भास्यते सूर्य न शशांको न पावक यद गत्वा न निर्वतन्ते तदाम परमम. The Lord Savadharma does not require any sunlight or moonlight or electricity for illumination. That dham or place is supreme, and whatever goes there never comes back to the material world. The Vaikunt planets and the Golok Vrindavan planet are all self-illuminating, and the rays scattered by those Swadham of the Lord constitute the existence of Brahma Jyoti, as further confirmed in the Vedas into the Mundaka Upanishad 2 to 10, Katha Upanishad 2 to 15, and Shvetasar Upanishad 6.14. न तत्र सूर्यो भांति न चंद्र तारका नेमो विद्युत भांति कुत्योम अग्नि तमेव भांतम अनु भाति सर्व तस्या भाषा सर्वमिदा विभाति. In the Swadham of the Lord, there is no need of sun, moon, or stars for illumination, nor is there need of electricity or what to speak of ignited lamps. On the other hand, it is become those planets are self-illuminating that all effulgence has become possible, and whatever there is that is dazzling is due to the reflection of the Swadharma. One who is dazzled by the effulgence of the impersonal Brahma Jyoti cannot know the personal transcendence. Therefore, in the Ishopanishad 15, it is prayed that a Lord shift his dazzling effulgence so that the devotee can see his real reality. It is spoken thus: Hiranme patrein satyastha spihati mukham tattva tva pushen pavana satya dharmaye dishtaye. O Lord, you are the maintainer of everything, both material and spiritual, and everything flourishes by your mercy. Your devotional service or bhakti yoga is the actual principle of religion, Satya Dharma, and I am engaged in that service. So kindly protect me by showing your real face. Please therefore remove the veil of your Brahma Jyoti rays so that I can see your form of eternal bliss and knowledge. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. So again, we need to understand what this stuti is. So let's go line by line. Namo namaste astu rashabhaya satvatam. So again, offer obeisances to whom, right? So we are here at Sukdev Goswami says that we offer obeisances to you because you yourself appear in the family of Yadavs, right? You give association to the devotees. And then Prabhupada mentions the first thing is Yadavs, right? So Lord appeared in the family of the Yadavs to give them the association. He also appeared as a friend to Arjuna. He also appeared as in Vrindavan, so that the inhabitants of Vrindavan, the Gopas and the Gopis of Vrindavan can reciprocate with him. So offer obeisances to you, Lord, because you give association to your devotees, right? And the other one is also offer obeisances to one who is the best. So here it says, I think the word is, if I'm correct, let me go, Rishabhaya was the word. Besides this, the 14. Okay. And the second point here is also, he says he's offering obeisances to one who is best, who is effulgent, right? And onto you who comes here to provide prema and ananda to his devotees. So there are two aspects that we will see. One is an impersonal aspect and a personal aspect. So here Sukdev Goswami is offering obeisances to the Lord in both these sense, that you have a personal aspect where you give association to the devotees in terms of the companion, in terms of the inhabitants, and then also to someone who is effulgent and who provides prema and ananda. So prema and ananda, and also we will see now an impersonal aspect to the Lord. Okay, now in the second line, it is said that Vidura Kashtaya Muhu Yogi Ku Yoginam. Ku Yoginam means who is not a devotee. So here it says, I'm offering obeisances also to someone who So one who is a non-devotee and is not on the path of bhakti, and one who is not eligible is far away from not eligible, and you are far away from them always. This is an impersonal feature, right? Now, whoever wants to merge into into the existence of the Lord, or merge into the spiritual spark or the Brahma Jyoti, here it is said that they are non-devotees, right? So Sukdev Goswami is even offering obeisances to the Lord, who is actually having an impersonal feature. And uh, it is said that, when Mahabharata took place, there were a lot of Kuyoginam, there were a lot of people who saw the Lord and could not recognize the Lord, right? So here it is said Duryodhana and many others did not recognize the Lord. And then if you look at the shloka, which is Bhagavad Gita 7:25, which is saying Namha Prakasha Sarvasya, the Lord says, I am never manifest to the foolish and the unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. So this is another aspect of the Lord, that if it is an impersonal feature of the Lord actually hides himself and does not reveal himself to the one who is non-devotee. But Sukdev Goswami is offering obeisances to both the personal feature and the impersonal feature of the Lord. Okay. And then in the third line, he says, it says, no one is equal to me and no one above me by opulence. Radhasa means opulence. So here it says, Nirasta Samyati this Shayena Radhasa. No one is equal to me and no one is above me by opulence. There is no superior truth unto me, right? Mattah Parattaram Nanya. So Bhagavad Gita 7.7 also says that there is no truth superior to me. So he is offering obeisances to the Lord, who is the greatest, who has the best of the opulence. No one is superior to him. So Sukdev Goswami is offering obeisances onto him. And then the last one, he says, Swadhamni, that means in his own abode, Swadhamni Brahmani Ramsate Namaha. So I bound down to him, one who is enjoyer of both material and spiritual abodes, which is Srimad Vrindavan Dham. So Sukdev Goswami is also offering to the Lord obeisances, where he is actually the enjoyer of both material and spiritual abodes. So both of these spiritual and material abodes are created by the Lord. He's the proprietor of it, and he enjoys both the material and the spiritual worlds. And Sukdev Goswami says, yes, I offer obeisances to him. So this is how we offer obeisances to the personal feature of the Lord. He offers obeisances to the impersonal feature of the Lord. He also says, no one is equal to you and above to you. And he says, you are enjoying in the material and spiritual world, and I offer obeisances unto you because you are present in both the material and spiritual worlds. Okay. So again, two sides of the transcendental manifestation of the Supreme Lord. One is an impersonal form. So here it is said that one who is dazzled by the effulgence of the impersonal Brahma Jyoti cannot know the personal transcendence. So people who are impersonal will never know the personal feature of the Lord. Okay. The Lord and his residential abode will always remain a myth or a mysterious problem for the mundaners. So, it is explained that about the material world is the Mahatattva, right? And Mahatattva is where all the manifestation of the universes happen. So the Lord says that even for an impersonal form, whoever is interested in my impersonal form, this will always remain a myth, right? They will never go beyond the Brahma Jyoti. And then Lord also says, the translation purport, it is said that they have no qualifications for becoming associates of the Lord, either in the Vaikuntha planet or in the supreme planet Golok Vrindavan. So if you are sticking to the impersonal manifestation of the Lord, this is a disqualification for you, and you can never ever enter a Vaikuntha planet or Golok Vrindavan. Wherein, if you look at the personal manifestation, it is said that for a devotee, it is very easy to reach the residential abode far beyond the impersonal Brahmajyoti. So here they are not progressing beyond the impersonal Brahmajyoti. When it is a personal manifestation, you are actually crossing that impersonal Brahmajyoti and going beyond that into the abode of the Lord, right? How is it possible? By Bhakti Yoga. So the only qualification or the only way you can have the personal manifestation form of the Lord is via the Bhakti Yoga, right? By Bhakti Yoga, you become qualified to associate with the Lord, either in the Vaikuntha planet or in the supreme planet, which is Golok Vrindavan. Okay, and then the Lord's Swadham does not require any sunlight or moonlight or electricity for illumination, right? So here there were shlokas that talked about, yes, the spiritual planets are self-illuminating. You do not require any source or any sunlight or moonlight for illumination, right? And here it is said that if you are sticking to the personal manifestation form of the Lord, then that dham or place is supreme, and whoever goes there never comes back to this material world. So these are the two aspects that were talked about, and Sukdev Goswami offers obeisances to the Lord because he has an impersonal manifestation, and he also has a personal manifestation, and he describes the characteristics of both of them. Okay. Let's go to shloka number 15. Okay, 15 says, now, yad kirtanam, yad sparanam, yad ikshanam, yad vandanam, yad shravranam, yad arhanam, lokasya sadhyo vidunoti kalmasham, tasme subhadra sarve namo namah. So here I will read it. It says, translation, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all auspicious Lord Krishna, about whom glorification, remembrance, audience, prayers, hearing, and worship can at once cleanse the effect of all the sins of the performer. Purport. The sublime form of the religious performances to free oneself from all reactions of sin is suggested herein by the greatest authority, Sri Sukdev Goswami. Kirtan, or glorifying the Lord, can be performed in many ways, such as remembering, visiting temples to see the deities, offering prayers in front of the Lord, and hearing recitation of glorification of the Lord mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. Kirtanam can be performed both by singing of the glories of the Lord in accompaniment with the melodious music and by recitation of scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. A devotee need not be disappointed in a physical absence of the Lord, though they may think of not being associated with him. The devotional process of chanting, hearing, remembrance, etc., either all or some of them or even one of them can give us the desired result of associating with the Lord by starting the transcendental loving service of the Lord in the above manner. Even the very sound of the holy name of Lord Krishna or Rama can at once surcharge the atmosphere spiritually. We must know definitely that the Lord is present wherever such pure transcendental service is performed, and thus the performer of the offenseless Kirtanam has positive association with the Lord. Similarly, remembrance and prayers can also give us the desired result if they are properly done under the expert guidance. One should not concoct forms of the devotional service. One may worship the form of the Lord in a temple, or one may impersonally offer the Lord devotional prayers in a mosque or a church. One is sure to get free from the reactions of the sin, provided one is very careful about not committing sins willingly in the expectation of getting free from the reactions by worshipping in the temple or by offering prayers in the church. This mentality of committing sins willfully on the strength of the devotional service is called Namo Baladayasya hi Papa Buddhi. And it is the greatest offense in the discharge of devotional service. Hearing, therefore, is essential in order to keep oneself strictly on guard against such pitfalls of sins. And in order to give special stress to hearing process, the Goswami invokes all auspicious fortune in this manner. So this is shloka number 15. And shloka number 15, so in the first two, it is all glorification about the Lord, what are his activities, what does he do, what are his personal and impersonal forms, how does he sort of give liberation, or awards the desired destination. All this is mentioned. Now the shloka 15, Sukdev Goswami says, how can we know the Lord who is doing all the previous activities as mentioned? How can we know the Lord, right? So it says 6 things that you should do. First, okay, first thing is perform kirtanam, right? So kirtanam, as in the purport, there are a lot of things that are mentioned. So when you say perform kirtan, first is Nama Kirtan, where we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We also say Dham Kirtan, right? So there are beautiful descriptions of the dham that are mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, or they are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Chintamani, and the shlokas that we have. So you should do dham kirtan. You should do the Rupa Kirtan, right? Various different shlokas that talks about what forms the Lord or Radha or Sham Sundar has, right? All those shlokas can be chanted. So that is a form of a Kirtan. And then finally in the purport, it is also said that reciting Bhagavad Gita, which is reciting Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam also is a form of performing the Kirtan, right? So the first 3 activities in the first line is perform Kirtan. Second is Smarana, right? Seeing the Lord everywhere, right? And then third is Darshanam, right? Seeing the deities, right? So these are the 3 activities. How can we know? We can know the Lords by doing these 6 activities. 3 of them are described in these. Let's go to the next line, which says, then you can do Vandanam, offer prayers, Shravanam, that means hear about the Lord. Fourth, the 6th one is then worshipping, that means worship the Lord in the temple and at home. So these are the 6 primary activities that have been told: Kirtan, Smaran, Darshanam, Vandanam, Shravanam, and worshipping the Lord. If we do this, then only it is possible for us to know the Lord, and then only it is possible to know all the activities as previously described, that we will be able to understand. I'll just quickly jump to one slide, which is after this, okay? Which is quite important, and it's quite interesting that in Chaitanya Charitamrita in Madhya Leela in 22:136, different acharyas are described for the 9 process of devotional service. Since there is, Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Sparanam described in the previous shlok, I said, let's have this. So let's read this. It's quite interesting. So these are 9 devotional processes that are described by Sri Rupa Goswami in his Padyavali. Hearing, Shravanam. And who is the Acharya for hearing Shravanam? It is Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj, the last 7 days of his life, he constantly heard the Srimad Bhagavatam. So he's the Acharya for Shravanam. Who is the Acharya for Kirtanam? Sukdev Goswami spoke Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. Remembrance, right? Smaranam. Who is the Acharya for Smaranam? It is Prahlad Maharaj, right? Never forgets Krishna despite constant tortures from his father Hiranyakashipu. Right? Quite interesting that he was doing Smaranam. Even it is said that when he was looking at the pillars, he could actually see the Lord there. It's not that the Lord appeared there, no, because he was doing the Smaranam in a way that he was seeing the Lord in the pillar. Quite interesting. Then you have serving the Lord's lotus feet with his path sevan, right? Who's the Acharya? It's the Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is always engaged in serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Deity worship, Archana. Who is it? Maharaj Prathu, right? Used all his royal possession in order to offer them in the pure devotional service to the Lord, right? That's Archana. Vandanam, which is prayers. Akrura is, the the Acharya for Vandanam, right? He offered beautiful prayers from his heart, right? Akrura offered prayers to Krishna when he was traveling to Vrindavan in order to see Krishna, right? And then is Dasyam, executing orders. Hanuman is the Acharya, right? The intimate servant of Ramachandra executed all of Sri Ramachandra's order despite of all kinds of difficulties. So he's the Acharya for Dasyam. Sakyam, serving as a friend. It is Arjuna. Arjuna was so close to Krishna that the Lord offered himself to become his chariot driver and serve Arjuna and his brothers in various ways, right? That is Sakyam. And Atma Nivedanam, complete surrenderance, is the best example, and the Acharya here is Bali Maharaj, right? Bali Maharaj gave Shri Vaman Dev his entire kingdom, right, in 3 steps, his possession, his as well as his own body throughout his own spiritual. So although his own spiritual master was against it. So these are various processes of devotional service, and everywhere there is Acharya here. So this is why I thought I will include this, but let's go to the 3rd slide, which is the one which says, what happens when you perform these devotional service? Now we saw that there are these 6 devotional service that you need to perform in order for you to know the Lord and his activities. Then the next says, Lokasya sadhya vidunoti kalmasham. So here it says, what happens when you perform this devotional service? There are 3 things. You become free from reaction of all the sense, right? And then you get the same results of associating with the Lord when you perform this devotional service. So you don't require a physical presence that I need to be Lord, but I need to be present with the Lord to perform this devotional service, but you get the same results if you perform this devotional services as mentioned above. And then one caution that Prabhupada says, do not perform the sins on the strength of devotional service, right? It says, Namo balad yasyahi papa buddhihi. That means don't perform a sin and go to a temple or a church asking for forgiveness and keep repeating those things. This is what Prabhupada is saying. So when you perform this sin, you become free from all the reactions of this sin, and you get the same results as you associate with the Lord, with a caution that is mentioned here. And then lastly, it says, Tasmai Subhadra Sarve Namo Namah. I offer my respectful obeisances to onto the all auspicious Lord Krishna. Right? So that's the shloka here. I covered this slide already, and we will move to now shloka number, which is 16. 16 says, let's read this. It says, Vichakshana yat charano pasadanatha sangam vyudasyo bhayato antar atmanaha vidanti hi brahma gatin gata kalmash tasmai subhatra sarve namo namaha. Translation. Let me offer my respectful obeisances again and again all to all auspicious Lord Shri Krishna, the highly intellectual, simply by surrendering onto his lotus feet, are relieved of all the attachments to present and future existence without difficulty progress towards the spiritual existence. Purport. Lord Krishna has repeatedly instructed Arjuna, or for that matter, everyone concerned with becoming his unalloyed devotee. In the past, his instructions in Bhagavad Gita in 1864 to 66, he instructed most confidentially as follows. Sarva guhyatam bhuyaha shruno me paramam vachaha istosmi tadram iti tato vakshyami te hitam. Manmana bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam evashyasi satyam te pratijani priyosi me sarva dharmam parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tam swarupapebho mokshashyami masacha. My dear Arjuna, you are very dear to me, and therefore only for your good I will disclose the most secret part of my instruction. It is simply this: become a pure devotee of mine, give yourself unto me, to me only, and I promise you full spiritual existence, by which you may gain the eternal right of transcendental loving service onto me. Just give up all the other ways of religiosity and exclusively surrender onto me and believe that I will protect you from your sinful acts and I shall deliver you. Do not worry anymore. Persons who are intelligent take serious notice of this task instruction of the Lord. Knowledge of the self is the first step in the spiritual realization, which is called confidential knowledge. And a step further is God realization, which is called more confidential knowledge. The culmination of the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is God realization. And one attains the stage of God realization, he naturally, voluntarily becomes a devotee of the Lord to render him loving transcendental service. The devotional service to the Lord is always based on love of God and is distinct from the nature of routine service as described in Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or Dhyana Yoga. In Bhagavad Gita, there are different instructions for such men of different categories, and there are various descriptions for Varna Ashram Dharma, Sannyas Dharma, Yati Dharma, and the renounced order of life, controlling the senses, meditation, perfection of mystic powers, etc. But one who fully surrenders unto the Lord to render service unto him out of spontaneous love for him factually assimilates the essence of all knowledge prescribed in the Vedas. One who adopts this very method very skillfully attains perfection of life at once. And this perfection of human life is called Brahmagati, or progressive march in the spiritual existence. As enunciated by Srila Jiva Goswami on the basis of Vedic assurances, Brahmagati means to attain spiritual form as good as that of the Lord, and in that form, the liberated living being eternally lives on one of the spiritual planets situated in the spiritual sky. Attainment of this perfection of life is easily available to a pure devotee of the Lord without his undergoing any difficult methods of perfection. Such a devotional life is full of kirtanam, smaranam, ikshayam, etc., as mentioned in the previous verses. One must therefore adopt the simple way of devotional life in order to attain the highest perfection available in any category of human life, human form of life in any part of the world. When Lord Brahma met Lord Krishna as a playful child in Vrindavan, he offered his prayer in which he said, Shreha smritim bhaktim upasyate vibho shilyanti ye kevala bodh labadhye tesham asau kleshala eva shishyate nayad yatha sthula tu sav gati gatinam. Bhakti yoga is the highest quality of perfection to be achieved by intelligent person in lieu of performing a large quantity of spiritual activities. The example cited here is very appropriate. A handful of real paddy is more valuable than heaps of paddy skins without any substance within. Similarly, one should not be attracted by the jugglery of karma kanda jnana or even the mystic performance of yoga, but skillfully should take to a simple performances of kirtanam, smaranam, etc. under a bona fide spiritual master and without any difficulty attain the highest perfection. Okay. So here also it's again glorification as stuti. So here, who does this? So we talked about the 6 activities in terms of the devotional service, right? They have to be done. But then who does this? In this shloka, Sukadeva Goswami clearly says, one who is very intelligent and one who surrenders onto the lotus feet will be able to do it. It's not for everyone, but it is only for the intelligent people. And one who surrenders onto the lotus feet will be able to do this. That's the first line. The second line says, what is the effect of surrendering to the lotus feet? It says, you become free from all the attachments, right? For present and the future existence. So here it says that if you do perform this, and if you are intelligent, and if you surrender to the lotus feet, the effect is you become free from the attachment. Now here, it is said attachment, not even the present, even for your future existence. So this is what is important, that if you do this, you are free now and in the future as well. Third, it says, what does the Lord award him? So if I surrender, if I'm intelligent, if I surrender, and all my sins are freed from the attachment from the future and the present, what does the Lord award me then? Then the third line is very beautiful. It says, Vidanti hi Brahmagatin, right? Gata Kalmash. So Brahmagati means the Lord moves him towards the spiritual existence. So Lord helps him to go towards the spirituality. He progresses without any difficulty. Gata Kalmash means without any difficulty. So here it says, one who fully surrenders onto the Lord, onto the Lord to render service unto him, out of spontaneous love for him, factually assimilates the essence of all knowledge described in the Vedas. So Lord is actually moving him towards the spiritual existence. He progresses without any difficulty. So all the difficulty that he has in reaching towards his goal is removed by the Lord. And then once that happens, you actually, with the spontaneous love, you actually serve the Lord. And here it says, this is the essence of all the prescribed activities in the Vedas. Okay. Now, it is said that it is easily available for a pure devotee of the Lord without undergoing any difficult methods of perfection. So here in the purport, it is mentioned, Prabhupada mentions, you have Gyan Yoga, Karma Yoga, all the different yogas that you have. You do not actually have to undergo all these difficult methods for the perfection. So when the Lord says, I will move him and I will remove all the difficulties, you really don't require to perform all these difficult methods. The Lord will help you to quickly achieve the desired results to go towards the spiritual realm. And then last, again, it says, I offer respectful obeisances all to all auspicious Lord Krishna. This is the same statement, Tasmai Subhadra Sarve, Sarvashe Namo Namaha. So Jiva Goswami again says, Brahmagati means to attain spiritual form as good as that of the Lord. And in that form, the liberated living being eternally lives on one of the spiritual planets situated in the spiritual sky. So this is the Brahmagati. Lord quickly pushes you towards this goal and he gives you an entry into the realm, right? Most important part of this shloka is the only object of meditation that we talked about is the meditation of the lotus feet of the Lord, right? So a few lines that we would read against what is the importance here, and then a shloka that talks about again the lotus feet. So one is, those feet destroy the embarrassing condition of the material life, freely award the greatest desire of the soul, the attainment of the pure love of Godhead. This is what happens when you surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord. It is the shelter of all the holy places, perfect for those who simply bow down to you with respect, relieves all their distress. This is what we have been seeing. Even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva seek shelter of your lotus feet. Your lotus feet are actually suitable boat for crossing over the ocean of birth and death. Most important, right? So why it is said to the intelligent people to sort of surrender to the lotus feet is because we want to cross over the ocean of birth and death, right? A beautiful shloka, and Bhagavatam also talks about this, how simple it becomes when you surrender to the lotus feet, right? Samashrita ye pad pallava Samashrita ye pad pallava palvam mahat padam punya yasho murare bhavam bhudir vatsapadam param padam yad vipadam na tesham. For those who have accepted the vote of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Murari, the enemy of the Mura demon, the ocean of material world is like a water contained in a half in the calf's hoof print. So the ocean of material world is so big, but when we surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord, it becomes as small as the half hoof print, right? And their goal is Parampadam Vaikuntha, the place where there is no material miseries, not the place where there is a danger at every step. So here it is said that once you surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord, you will be able to cross the ocean of birth and death very easily. And that is the only boat that we need to hold on to. Okay. The last instruction, very important, that was given to Arjuna was the 3 shlokas that we talked about. So I'll just go through the instruction. This is the most confidential knowledge that is revealed to his devotees, not everyone. The process and the promise that the Lord gives is always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer my homage unto me. And the promise is thus you will come to me without fail. That's the promise that the Lord makes. The process again is on the next shloka is abandon all the varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Promise is I shall deliver you from all the sinful reaction. So this is the most important instruction. And this is the instruction that the intelligent people should follow and surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord. This is the whole verse that Sukadeva Goswami was talking about. Let's go to the last one, which is the 17th shloka. Tapasvino dana para yashasvino manasvino mantra vidha sumangalaha kshemam na vandanti vina yadarpanam tasme subhadra shavase namo namaha. So here it says, I'll read it. Translation, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto all auspicious Lord Krishna again and again, because the great learned sages, the great performers of charity, the great workers of restriction, the great philosophers, and the mystics, the great chanters of Vedic hymns, and the great followers of Vedic principles cannot achieve any fruitful results without dedication of such great qualities to the service of the Lord. Purport. Advancement of learning, a charitable disposition, political, social, or religious leadership of human society, philosophical speculation, the practice of yoga system, expertise in Vedic rituals, and all similar high qualities in man serve one in the attainment of the perfection only when they are employed in the service of the Lord. Without such detailing, all such qualities become the sources of trouble for people in general. Everything can be utilized either for one's own sense gratification or in the service of other than oneself. There are 2 kinds of self-interest also, namely personal selfishness and extended selfishness. But there is no qualitative difference between the personal and an extended selfishness. Theft for a personal interest or for the family interest is of the same quality, namely criminal. A thief pleading not guilty because of committing theft, not for the personal interest, but for the interest of a society or a country, has never been executed by established law of any country. Has never been excused by the established law of any country. People in general have no knowledge that the self-interest of a living being attains perfection only when such interest coincides with the interest of the Lord. For example, what is the interest of maintaining a body and a soul together? One earns money for maintenance of the body, personal and social, but unless there is God consciousness, unless the body is being properly maintained to realize one's relationship with the Lord, all good efforts to maintain the body and soul together are similar to the attempts of the animals to maintain the body and the soul together. The purpose of maintaining human body is different from that of an animal. Similarly, advancement of learning, economic development, philosophical research, study in Vedic literature, or even execution of pious activities like charity, opening of hospitals, and distribution of food grains should be done in relation with the Lord. The aim of such acts and endeavors must be the pleasure of the Lord and not the satisfaction of any identity, individual or collective. Sam Siddhir Haritoshnam. Bhagavad Gita 9:27, the same principle is confirmed, where he said that whatever we may give in charity or whatever we may observe in austerity must be given over to the Lord or to be done on his own account only. The expert leaders of a godless human civilization cannot bring about a fruitful result in all their different attempts at educational advancement or economic development unless they are God conscious. And to become God conscious, one has to hear about all auspicious Lord. And he is described in the literature like Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So the last one, again, let's look at the principles here. Who cannot attain the desired result? So here now it talks about there are great learned sages. There are people who perform charity. There are great people of distinction that are present. Now, if all of these people start doing things, the great philosophers, the mystic, the great chanter of Vedic hymns or strict followers of Vedic principle, if you are any one of them, you know all your part, but the whole point is you cannot attain the desired result if you do not offer this to the Lord. So what is the condition? The condition is, even if you are from these six, the condition is you cannot achieve any fruitful result without dedication of such qualities to the service of the Lord. This is Samsiddhar Haritoshnam. So however good I may be, however good I may be in terms of Vedic chants, or however good may be in terms of philosophy, however good work or charity work that I can perform, if it is not offered to the Lord, then there is no result. So the only condition is you will not be able to achieve the desired result if you do not dedicate such great activities at the service of the Lord. And that means you have to devote everything as Samsiddhar Haritoshnam. That's the shloka in the Bhagavad Gita, right? And then here it says, I offer respectful obeisances unto all auspicious Lord Krishna. So here, so this is from the previous one, which is not needed. So the last slide is satisfaction of the Lord is more important than the self, right? So whatever activities we do, it has to satisfy the Lord. It has to be more than myself. And here the purport, it says that is the core difference between an animal and a human, right? So animals are maintaining their body and souls. If we do not engage our body in realizing oneself with a relation with the Lord, all the effort is wasted. Then we are equal to the animals. So animals also maintain their body and souls. We are exactly doing this also. The only differentiation is the realization. We only have the potency and the power to have the realization of the God, and we should work towards it, right? So what is the aim? So here it says in the purport, people in general do not have the knowledge that the self interest of a living being attains perfection only when such an interest coincides with the interest of the Lord. So this is the this is what people do not know, that it is only going to work, all these activities that were defined previously, if we don't do it for the satisfaction of the Lord, then it's not going to work out, right? And the aim of such all acts and endeavors must be the pleasure of the Lord, and not the self, and not the satisfaction of any other identity, individual or collective. So the whole aim is whatever activities you perform, you have to do it for the satisfaction of the Lord. It is more of satisfying the Lord than satisfying us. Okay. So that was the last. So it is a beautiful Shruti where all the principles are sort of described. And Sukdev Goswami goes one by one and describing, and then it is still in continuation. It goes till 24 shloka, but this is what we covered from 11 to 17 today. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, what is meant by the workers of distinction?
Let me open it up. Hold.
Last.
Yeah, last shloka, right? 17. Let me open up. Okay, let me offer all auspicious. Again, the great sages, learned performers of charity, the great workers of distinction. These are all, workers of distinction is all specific people who have specific skill sets. Okay, yeah, that's the worker of
That is a magician or something like that.
anyone who is able to do some great job,
Yeah.
any kind of great things that they're able to do, right?
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, it was a very excellent presentation. I really like the presentation you make. So thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Any other questions? Okay, so we will close our class. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Prabhu, then will Sachin. And